Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power Nickel Live Summit hosted by Six. I'm pleased to introduce the speakers for today, Terry Lynch, the CEO, Duncan Roy, the VP IR, and Ken Williamson, the VP Exploration. Terry will introduce both of his new team members, provide some company updates, and after that, we will be accepting questions. As a reminder, you can submit your questions in the chat at any point during the presentation. As always, the summit is being recorded and will be available to watch on six.com afterwards. Without further ado, I'd like to hand things over to you, Terry, so that we can get started.
Great. Thanks, Max. Thanks for having us on again today. And want to have a big welcome and introduce my friends and now compatriots in arms, Ken and Duncan, to the Power Nickel shareholder base and interested investors. I've known both these guys for a couple of years now, and I've had the privilege of working with them, on Power Nickel, issues over that period of time, and really have enjoyed working with them just on a professional and personal level, which is important when you're building a team, because at the end of the day, when you're in junior mining space, you got to be super frugal with the capital you get. You got to put the capital in the ground first to see if you've got a chance at having a mine. And so, we did that, and now, we got more than a chance of having a mine. We got a really great opportunity to have a mine. But once you get to that stage, you got to build the team. And a couple of the cornerstones in my mind are obviously got to find the ore, because that's without that you don't have anything. And that's Ken came from a really dynamic background. He's been a very successful geologist, and came into the gold sector initially, and then he developed his own company, 3DGO, which we hired, and they actually did the first modeling for Power Nickel and basically cracked the code at NISC. And our first campaign, we hit on 7 of 8 holes, and we really sort of continued to have tremendous success going forward, but based on the the geological modeling and theory that Ken put together, and then now working with GeoVector, we've been able to advance it. But so we've worked with Ken for some time, and feel like he's a top tier professional in the space, and we have a good personal relationship with him, and he's a good team member, and I'm really pleased to bring Ken to the Power Nickel family, and looking forward to working with them and finding a lot more ore at NISC, and hopefully beyond. So Ken, welcome to the team, and I can't wait to work with you now on a sort of in the house basis, and I look forward to having some fun together as well. So welcome to Power Nickel.
Thanks, Terry. It's a great pleasure to finally join officially the team. And as you've mentioned, I guess my background is more in gold, some may say, but to just correct the wording here, I would say my background is more structural geology, pure and simple. Yep. Mineralized or not, at one point, initially, it doesn't really matter to me. What's interesting is the geology. And for sure, NISC has the geology to be hosting good potential there. And, I think with such a vision, adding a lot more geology and trying to unravel what's happening surrounding that little pod that we've discovered makes total sense for us moving forward.
Yeah, well, thanks. We're going to get into you in a little bit more detail, but I also want to take this opportunity to welcome Duncan Roy to the Power Nickel team. So Duncan is a longtime financial industry veteran. He was a very successful broker, and for the last several years, he's been running his own, I would say, advisory firm, helping issuers like Power Nickel get out to, top tier brokers and family offices across the country. And in order to do that, it's not an easy job to, get time with these people who are very busy. They've got, big books, and they don't suffer fools or liars, and so you if you have the respect of that audience, it's because you've earned it. It's because you've brought them deals or brought them information in a credible way, and they believe, okay, this guy's a credible source, and I may not invest in every deal he brings me, but he doesn't bring me crap deals, and he brings me stuff that's well thought out, and I learned something from him, and that's what was most important. So your reputation gets you in the door, and you're working with that reputation every day. So your one bad deal destroys 25, 30 years of great work. So that's why you have to be a real professional to be able to sort of go through this and be able to be there time and time again. And so I noticed that about you, Duncan, and working together with you, when you were introducing Power Nickel and meeting several of your contacts that you'd met and developed over the years, and that they obviously have a keen level of respect for you. And that's kudos for you as an industry professional. And I'm really thrilled to have you join the team and help me start sharing this wonderful story to the investment community. So welcome to Power Nickel.
Yeah, very excited to be here. This is a standout story, and I think it's got so much potential. I think we're just getting started really on this. I think significant discovery. We're going to make history here, I think. So that's kind of fun. And you're right. The brokers are really busy people, whether they're institutional or retail, and they get bombarded by people all the time, especially people who just don't know what they're talking about. So I get guys on the phone because we've got a history, and people trust me. At the end of the day, Terry, we've talked about this. It makes so much. It's so important to be honest with people. Tell people, here's the world, here's the risk reward situation, and let them make their decisions based on their style, format, and comfort. And I think we got a very strong response to this from people, which is exciting. So,
can you both talk a little bit about why you decided to join Power Nickel and what's exciting for you? I guess we'll start with Ken.
Yeah, sure. Actually, when I first got approached by Terry to evaluate, I guess, the first past potential of the deposit, I have to tell you that it was like a new news for me, in the sense that my specialization is gold, really. And off the bat, I got instantaneously excited to work on something new and trying to see, well, if I evaluate that my way, what would happen, kind of thing. And that really was the idea, to just put a layer of geology and structural geology on top of that little deposit, see what we got. And after that first very small mandate, the excitation grew in me, and obviously wanted to stay with Terry as a service provider at that time. And the more we drilled that thing, and the more we saw that growing, the excitement just grew at the same time. And now, given the opportunity to work on that internally, I think already I was providing, I think, good services for Power Nickel, but to be able to do that internally and have my own vision transpiring into the exploration work that we'll do at the project is something that is driving me. I guess it's the essence of the work we do as geologists. So very, very excited to be part of that new discovery, literally. So.
Yeah, guys, I don't know. The Russians jamming me or something. But, so I jumped on my cell phone. So my apologies.
They were just talking about why they're excited to work with Power Nickel.
Good. Well, I've obviously heard that answer as I was recruiting them. It's sort of a special time for us right now, because we think it's a really unbelievable opportunity geologically. And yeah, obviously still has to be proven out, but we've made some tremendous progress last year, with the drilling, and we've got some exciting new events happening right now. From what's going on right, this very second. The team is up on the site, and they're deploying the ambient noise tomography, which Ken was part of the whole. Vetting of that technology. And it's an exciting new technology that we came across from, understanding that Talon Metals, a peer nickel company, was using it in their, Tamarack discovery in the Michigan-Minnesota border. And they've subsequently made a discovery as a result of that. So we sort of identified that it would be a great potentially technology to review, and Ken and the GeoVector team reviewed it, and after 2 or 3 sessions decided that it would be a great sort of tool for us to add to our quiver of geological tools, whether it be gravity or airborne EM, or there's a number of them out there that we're using, but right now the ambient noise is being deployed, and we're getting some great results, and we expect to have an update to our investors probably sometime in mid-August on how the progress on that is going and what we're learning. And that'll ultimately impact our drilling program, which is going to start after the long weekend. So I think August 7th or 8th, we'll start drilling. And, we've identified some, additional targets around the NISC main. And then obviously we're going to be looking for other pods, because the whole, thesis behind NISC is that, we've got this one great ore body right now called NISC main. And of course we want that to be as big as possible, and we're continuing to grow that with drilling. But there may be other pods, and where might those pods be? They could be underneath NISC main. They could be immediately, to the left or right of it, or they may be, we did that step out hole that was 5.5 kilometers out. Then we hit that, that bonanza hole of, almost 8 meters of 1 ounce PGM. So it looks like there's a wholly large area there that is charged. And now we're just trying to find out, where the pods are. And that's why, having, professionals like Ken in-house to help us work with the GeoVector team will make so much sense. Ken, why don't you, give the audience a bit of your thoughts on the ambient noise tomography and our technology-driven approach to finding in this ore body and showing how big it can be.
Absolutely, and that will give me an opportunity at the same time to answer an on-the-side question, which was about, ambient noise technology is brand new. What is my vision? Would it be very new as well? With that, well, to combine both the ambient noise technology, just to recap, if people don't know really what it is, in a nutshell, really, when you have an earthquake, the earth shaking, we can measure that with seismographs and stuff like that. The earth naturally is vibrating with some sort of a background noise, and that technology is capable of measuring that and identifying anomalies in that kind of signature that we're receiving at a large scale on the project, on the property. So that technology, once fully processed, and once we understand what it means, that will be the first pass. It's geophysics. We gotta make a link between the geology, the response we get from such a signal, and after that, we believe we'll be able to pinpoint more precisely the areas where the good rocks or potential mineralization hosting rocks will be located on the property. And the thing is with the current mapping we have and the current data, mostly magnetic data, we can recognize targets and trends along the property, but we hope that with the ANT technology, we'll be able to combine both knowledge there and be able to identify, okay, to have a nickel deposit, we got to have A plus B, one technology identifies A, the other one identifies B. So by combining the two, we hope that we'll be able to very precisely pinpoint where we should be drilling first in order to spend better that money that we'll put in the ground. So it's a fairly new approach. Well, not new in terms of looking at different layers of information, but brand new in terms of the source of information that will be used is not very common.
Yeah. It seems like it's about. I guess they've been actively using it in West Australia for 2 or 3 years now, and they've certainly they've had some good discoveries with it. Fleet and they just recently raised another $50 million on their Series B round, and they're continuing to add a bunch of new clients. So I think the world has identified that this is another valuable tool. I mean, Mother Earth, she's as crafty as she gets, right, Ken?
Yep.
Yeah, she's a very sharp lady, and she doesn't give up her prizes very easily. So, all these tools, none of them is nirvana. It's not going to work all the time on everything, and nor do we expect it to. It's all about, when you're in the mining business, it's like you're in a giant poker game. You know what I mean? And somewhat it depends upon the cards you get dealt. A lot of times in mining, you have a theory, and then you do the drilling and whatever and other techniques, and the cards you get dealt are just crap because it's awfully tough to find an ore body, and a lot of theories, most of them don't work. So when you get an ore body that's actually cooperating, like this one has been since Ken first decoded it and we started drilling it and confirmed it, this approach, it's really, it's fantastic. It's the first time it's ever happened to me in my career where I've had such a cooperating ore body, and I've been at it for a while, and we've tried lots of different things, but you don't want to curse yourself by the good fortune, because if anything, you want that to continue. But these techniques are really helpful, and they're what they do is they probably eliminate a lot of obvious things that you can sort of strike out and say, hey, it's definitely turned there. There's where we thought maybe there was a ore extension there, you realize no, that's definitely not going to be there. So let's not throw a hole there. Instead, it looks like maybe it's folded it back and it's back up in here. This looks more likely. So that's the type of stuff that I think we're going to learn from it. And so it's going to, I think it's basically going to enhance our drilling odds. Will we hit 100%? No. And I don't think you ever want to when you're drilling, because, you're always wanting to push the envelope of what your ore body could be. But I think it's going to basically speed up our ability to make decisions to target certain areas, and also to have success in those areas, and ultimately reduce dry hole expense, and that's how we'll justify it by getting to the ore body quicker and by having less dry holes. That's sort of my take on it. Ken, what do you think? Absolutely,
and I think one of the strategy that we'll have to have, and that will be allowed with the ant survey that we're running, and with other things that we'll eventually do in the near future. I think the idea here is to better define what the container is. We know what the content is, and we're studying even better with metallurgical studies and things like that to exactly define what do we have in our hands in terms of mineralization. But I think that ant technology, my own contribution, the whole thing together, I think what we'll need to focus on is to define exactly what kind of container do we have. And by this, what I mean is by using that ant technology, putting a good regional compilation, geological compilation together, identifying potential faults. Perhaps you talked about folds. Yeah, that could impact the deposit. What about faults that maybe are, offsetting that deposit a little further away, such that we can't see it from surface, but we need a way to identify where those areas are such that we can drill them. So with the 3D modeling approach, integrating all the data that we have so far, and if need be, doing inversion work to have a clearer view in 3 dimensions and things like that, I think we'll definitely screen the entire property that way and identify pods that are related to the main zone that we already know, and perhaps that wildcat targets a few kilometers away is related to that, or not. And if it's not, well, it's related to something new that we have also to discover. So one way or the other, better defining that container at the property scale is something key, I would say, to expand not only on the main zone, but on the property itself. So
I agree. Duncan, how do you feel about, when you're talking to investors about, this technology and the approach we're doing? How are you finding it with investors? What's the response?
Oh, it's people are totally fascinated, and the guys who've been in the business for, who are seasoned brokers who understand mining, they look at this and say, "Geez, this is a fantastic tool you have," and right away they recognize the potential efficiencies with this. It's novel. It's going to cut down on expenses. It's going to make things way more accurate. It importantly is going to change time frame for developing this property. So a common complaint is, geez, it takes like a decade to get a discovery into a mine. But when you utilize technologies like this, that's going to potentially take off a couple of years to the process. And as I said before, like it really cut down on your expenses for this. So totally fascinating. Very, very strong reaction from guys. They're quite fascinated. And the common question is, is this company public? Can I go buy fleet in the marketplace? Right.
Everyone wants to.
So there you go. So maybe we're selling the wrong company sometimes.
Yeah. No, I've definitely had that response too. And it's funny your comment on commercialization, and I mean we've been hinting at our ongoing conversations with industry about their perception of NISC being a commercial opportunity even now, and that's one of the things we when you ask Max, what's coming down the road, Power Nickel, that's something that's coming down the road. There'll be some announcement very soon on that commercial step. And another step on that pathway and that road, and certainly one of the things that was attractive to our future commercial partner was the fact that we were employing advanced techniques to advance the project quicker and to really get after it. So these things technology can help you in many ways. It hopefully helps you for sure execute better and spend your dollars wiser and deliver more or quicker to your investors, but it also attracts a different type of investor, the industry, who are looking for as Duncan said, the industry wants to put mines in production. That's how they make money. Power Nickel makes money by finding deposits. Other people make money by ultimately putting them into play. And the interesting part about the whole supply chain dynamics now is that for the first time in history, small companies like Power Nickel are going to have an opportunity to really go the rest of the way. So it'll be quite interesting, I think. So we'll see how it all goes. So
it makes Power Nickel really stand out. I mean, it's fairly well known in the industry that mining in general is fairly conservative, and guys are using techniques that they've used for decades to do stuff. So where's the novelty aside from imagination? Well, Power Nickel's showing innovation here with this technology and approach, and it will make a difference, and it makes us stand out. As you said before, like Talon had a nice step out discovery that's truly applicable to the success of utilizing fleet. So, I expect to see us do the same thing, and that's going to be neat. And so we'll get the attention of people in the industry for sure, And as you said, investors will look at this and say, geez, these guys are different, and that makes people want to go and be an owner.
Yeah, I was on a podcast the other day with Dennis Laviette, and we were talking about other things. One of the things we were talking about was one of his pet peeves was mining companies that get money and don't spend it on what they said they were going to do and on their exploration program, saying, "Well, it's a bad market. We should keep our money and wait for a better market." Well, who knows when we'll get a better market in mining? It could be tomorrow. It could be in 3 years. But ultimately, if you find a really good ore body, you're going to get paid. It doesn't matter what mining market is. And, I believe, and the reason why this team is coming together is that we all collectively believe we found a really good ore body. So we're going to get paid. I mean, we think that pay is going to start to happen soon with all the news that we've got coming, the things we're doing. But, we're convinced it's going to happen, and we're doing the right things to make that happen by, doing, I remember talking to Ken and the GeoVector team about the ambient noise, and they were, because I think in a lot of cases it's either or. You spend some money on this, but you don't spend money on some other technology. And I'm a big technology guy. The last thing I want to do is drill. Honestly, the first thing I want to do is get really smart guys like Ken to sort of, figure things out, because I have no idea. I'm not a geologist. I wouldn't know the first bloody thing about finding a rock. But you get these really bright, geologists, geophysicists who are, I joke to people. I say, yeah, they're scientists, but they're artists. This is there's certain feel these guys have about the rocks that it's just not something you can just pick out of a textbook. They're like a little bit savantish, why they like some things and not other things, and it's only from decades of hard work and experience that they probably can't even tell you 100% themselves why they see it a certain way. But I know when we were talking with Ken about ambient noise, he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool," but he said, you can't disrespect downhole EM or airborne EM or gravity or IP. These are all really valuable tools. And the fact that some of them are old doesn't make them bad. And I said, guys, this is not an either or. We should use whatever tools we can to de-risk this thing as much as possible, because that's the least expensive stuff we can do. Drilling's the most, right, Ken?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. At first, to tell you the truth, the ant technology, I was a little bit reluctant, just because I had not heard about that before. And then all of a sudden, after a few readings in quantum mechanics, no, not really. I didn't go that far. But no, it's complicated stuff, but it's been demonstrated that it works. So, it reminded me somewhat at the very early start of my career, Mr. Rob McEwen, who founded Goldcorp. He had the brilliant idea to install a VR lab facility at the mine site. Well, at that time, only in Sudbury you could see, stuff with VR glasses and things like that. Well, we installed that on site, and at first, what is the utility or the usefulness of doing that? Well, it didn't take long that because we had that new technology available to us, that we made good use of it. So that whole story with the ant thing, applying that to our deposit and things like that, kind of reminded me this, in the sense that, there's nothing wrong at trying something new. And if it works, then it works. And if it doesn't work for the purpose that we initially thought it would be helpful with, perhaps it will be helpful for something else that we're not even aware of. And that could lead to something brand new as well. So I'm kind of that type of person who's thinks outside the box all the time. And Terry, the way you look at that, you're giving us and me the opportunity at trying stuff out like that. So it's really the way, I think, to succeed in here.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough business, mining business, and these days even more tough. But I think the technology is there, and again, Mother Earth, thank God, has given us a really great ore body to work with. Thank you, Mother Earth. We really appreciate that. And of course, she'll have some curveballs for us as she always does. But I feel like we've got a really good technical approach, and I think it's up to Duncan and I to make sure that that we get valuation appropriately in the market, and that we keep our coffers in a healthy state, so that we can continue to advance this project forward and hopefully show the world it's going to become Canada's next carbon neutral nickel mine. In fact, the first one in the world. So it's exciting stuff. So I don't know, Max, if you got any questions from the audience, now would probably be a great time to get to them.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple questions here. I believe one of them was already answered by Ken here, but PJ Harris here was asking, what will be your key strategies and implementations you'll be making in your new role? Will it be status quo, or will you be trying something new? And I guess I'll ask that broadly to both Ken and Duncan.
Please go ahead, Duncan.
Well, tough question to sort of answer like that. I think it's more on how you do mining. But bottom line for me was working with Terry and getting out to institutional players, family offices, retail guys who are truly qualified and interested in the company. So a lot of guys will do big broadcasts out to a ton of people that really have no interest, and it's a complete waste of time, energy, money. It just has no value. So in my world, what I think works is you go to very specific individuals and explain the story. So McNamara's first law: understand the big picture, parts make sense. So you explain the big picture, and then as you go through, here's the development, here's an action happening. They'll understand, because they understand the business plan, the big idea, and that creates buyers at the end of the day into the company, and they'll not get thrown off the road when there's little hiccups or glitches out there that are immaterial, but some people make a big deal out of them. So, like, it's fun. Terry and I have a mutual friend who is a bit of a nervous Nelly on stuff. The stock goes down 2 cents, and he craps his pants, right? And it's like, I tell him the same thing every single time. The only factor to consider here is time. It's going to take a little bit of time to get stuff done, but we're looking at what we think is an inevitable success story, and off we go from there. So those are sort of my thoughts on that. So just a different approach, going after the right people. It just makes a huge difference.
And Ken, before you answer on your part, Duncan, just a quick follow-up question I see here on that. Do you expect to grow both retail and institutional investors, or do you have a primary focus on institutionals?
Well, both. To make things work, it's wonderful to have management having a significant stake, which is the case. You want a number of institutions on board. In a sense, they're good housekeeping seal of approval, which is positive for other investors. The resources of a group like Fidelity, for instance, is massive. So if a company like that has said, "Hey, we like this story," they've done their research. Average retail broker, or even the better ones, they don't necessarily have all those resources. So you do want that core, and generally they're fairly stable investors. They're looking for a pretty significant runs. So that's key. But to get the stock going on a day-by-day basis, it's very helpful to have a solid retail base, and you have to have that to make things go. And the more there's sort of a critical mass of retail guys that can come in, and you need those guys in the marketplace. So they're all important. They all have different approaches. They all have different timelines, but put together well, you end up with a stock with a solid investor base. It develops momentum, and you see appreciation for the success of the company as they bring results out.
Awesome. And Ken, I'll actually tie two questions together here for you. So the first question is obviously about the key strategies, implementations that you'll be making in your role. And then also, what are your short and long-term goals for Power Nickel right now?
It kind of goes together, those two questions. I guess for now, as I'm brand new as of this week, officially in that role, not that I know nothing about the project. I've been following that like pretty much every day since a couple of years, but I need to digest a few things first. And I think what's going to happen in the near future, this week and next week, is GeoVector and me being, in touch together, making sure that we're all on the same page on what's happened in the past few months, what's coming up next. We already have a pretty well-defined drilling program coming up for the fall. So in the meantime, we could say for the next few months that's status quo or something like that, in the sense that we already had planned what's coming up in those next few months. But everything we'll do in terms of drilling, well, for the most part, will be focused on the resource work that we want to do. And it's essentially my primary focus here is to put everything together that needs to be put together to support that upcoming mineral resource estimate that is due for fall. So after that, longer term strategy will be probably twofolds. Depending on the results we get from that MRE, we'll definitely stay in proximity of that deposit, trying to enlarge it and to expand on what we know we have. And in the meantime, obviously, as we will be exploring the surroundings, and especially with the ant tomography results coming back at one point, we will then initiate probably a more regional approach there. So, but all of this remains to be defined, I would say, and the one thing that I want to make sure of is the people that we work with that are doing an excellent job with GeoVector, the drilling companies, and things like that. I just want to make sure that that good work keeps on going, and pretty much being supportive of that work rather than drastically change the way this is my way or the highway. No. It's not going to be like that. We already have a really good system in place. The car is moving fast, and we'll keep that momentum.
Awesome. How long will this August drilling campaign last? Will the results be added to the NI 43-101 as they come in? And how confident do you feel in the new drilling to hit anything on this drill? What's your goal in tonnage for it? So there's a number of questions in there, so maybe let's break it down one by one here. So how long will it last?
We'll be drilling, certainly through to Christmas is our view, and we think beyond. But I mean, that's the current program is. I think we committed to 5,000 meters with the contractor, but I got them to agree that we can extend to Christmas, and that's the plan. Is to basically like that, and we bring a second rig in late September to be able to drill the what we call the Wildcat bonanza hole that we had, the 8 meters of or thereabouts of the 1 ounce PGMs that was out there, and it's a bit of a difficult spot to get to in the summer because it's a bit marshy, and so So we'll be drilling that in late September with basically that a helicopter is going to drop a rig off to a platform we'll have made there, and then we'll drill a few holes there, and then by then it'll have frozen up and we can take it out conventionally. So that's the the drilling programs, and again, as Ken said, we'll have to react to the real time return of the rock and how it's going, and we'll make adjustments on the fly. The good news is that we have permitted a lot of drilling pads up there, so we have a lot of flexibility on where we drill, and the grid's been well laid out, so we can get to whatever targets we can identify through our technology approach as to should we be drilling deeper underneath the core deposit. Maybe there's something at 500 or 600 meters that we haven't tested before, or do we just half a kilometer to the west there's the ENT and the downhole EM and the airborne EM and the gravity IP all come together in concentric circles and say, hey, that looks like a great target, let's drill it. I think we've got the flexibility to adapt to new intel as it's coming in, and that's why we have the team to be able to process that.
And follow up on that from the same question here. Will the results be added to the NI 43-101 as they come in?
Well, we'll try to add as much of the new results we can get. Obviously, that will be up to the QP who's going to do that work. We'll have to select one first and then decide with that new person what is the deadline where we'll be cutting off the database. What I mean by this is, at one point we'll need to say, okay, it stops here, we'll continue to receive results, but all of those results need to be stopped in time, so to speak, so a QP can stamp proof it and validate everything and things like that. So we'll see how it goes in the next few weeks, I guess, depending who is that QP person, their availability, et cetera, will adapt then. But definitely, the one thing we need to remember here is currently whatever money we spend on the ground at NISC is to enlarge that resource that we know we already have. So there was an historical resource done. The mineralization has been demonstrated to be there. The grade is fairly consistent. We've identified ore shoots within the main pod that we are looking at in the tabular view, so to speak. And Terry has a nice image that he brings up all the time. He's talking about a river of nickel. Well, it's not necessarily a real river of nickel, but the analogy is quite fascinating in the sense that what we believe we have in here is either a sill of ultramafic rocks or perhaps a flow. It remains to be defined. But in either case, the nickel and minerals that are associated with that nickel are so heavy that they constantly and naturally sink by gravity at the bottom of either a sill or a flow layer in those lavas. So with that, it makes the whole system there everywhere at the same time. And the river analogy is where you would have little channels forming at the bottom of such a flow. Nickel will tend to accumulate into those channels. So it can create little pods, but it could create a vast sea of nickel as well. And right now, I think we're drilling the river. I'm looking for the lake. So I really love that analogy, but we're downstream still. We got to move upstream and find that lake. So
awesome, great answer.
What we've given guidance-wise, Max, we've said, to the most part, we've done our drilling up to the end of April. That all those assays are in, And so, right now we're expecting to, get the metallurgical work back sort of first week in September or so, and then the QP would take the existing drilling information, all of our work and the metallurgic, and then go with that. We're obviously going to be drilling more, but maybe maybe we could add a little bit, but probably to the most part is what we've already drilled, and we'll get that out as quick as we can, after the metallurgical studies have been received and in early Q4, and then we'll, these things are always at a moment in time. Ultimately, we're gonna, after spending another, drilling another, 10 or 15,000 meters over the next, 6 months, that will again require an update. So it's an ongoing process, as Ken said, as we're trying to, move from having river nickel to having that river run into hopefully Lake Superior.
Awesome. And last question from that bundle of questions: what's your goal and tonnage for the drill campaign?
That's a tough question. I've been QP before, and I will kind of be hesitant to answer on that one. I'll just talk in terms of ratios, I guess. We have a certain volume that remains to be, defined exactly with an I-43-101. But based on the historical results that we have a really good idea on kind of what tonnage was there historically. And the thing is, to me, we need to at least double this up. What we had, we need to add to the bottom, to the side, make it a significant, really nice, attractive, it already is, but more attractive little pod there. So in terms of tonnage, grade, numbers, I'd say, well, look at the historical numbers, and hopefully a lot more than that. I'm very hesitant to,
All good. Yeah,
to
makes
speak
sense.
through that.
Yeah, fair enough. We're not going to, hold anyone to that. That's ultimately what the 43-101 will be out. But needless to say, we'll see shortly that industry believes we're onto something, and they're going to be investing, we think, significant dollars on that basis, and that'll be comforting to our shareholders to know that that's the case. And the neat thing about one of the things we've done differently at Power Nickel is we actually post all of our drill collars and assays, and we post our model, and people can actually, sometimes there's a lot of really sharp people out there that are ex-analysts or geologists that know how to manipulate leapfrog and these things, and they can play around with it and identify what they think is the model and what they're going to find. We certainly think we're going to get this thing to be commercial. I would say that minimum commercial viability is 50,000 contained tons, and I think you need 100,000 to be sort of perceived to be a significant deposit. I think we're going to get there real soon if we don't get there now. We're going to get there, very quickly, and then there's a lot more to be had beyond that. And I think one of the things that always gave me comfort in looking at this when I first acquired it, they had only drilled about, I think, 13 or 14,000 meters, and they proved up, 3 million tons. So now we're we've I think drilled a total of over 15,000 meters since then, and I think we've made more success drilling than the historical guys have. So we feel bullish about that, and we feel that every nickel sulfide discovery that I'm aware of in the history of the world has always been multiple pod. It's never just been one single giant pit. That's not how these nickel sulfide deposits come out. So they're always multiple pods. So we've got Nisk Main, which is basically one sort of sort of collection, one pod. Are there other pods to be out there? And if they are, if there's 3 or 4 pods here, what are the odds that NIST Maine is the best one? Well, 3 or 4 to 1. So I think I know from talking to some of the leading industry geologists that that hole up west, or east, that Bonanza hole was really a very exciting thing for a lot of reasons. Obviously, it's exciting because it was, it's not every day you get almost 8 meters of 1 ounce PGMs. I mean, that could make us a PGM play if we weren't already a great nickel play. But it's so unusual for that to happen, and it means maybe something very big happened in this area, and there might be a really giant massive metal movement here, and then we're just on the verge of uncovering it. So super exciting times, and thankfully we got a couple more people on the boat rowing with Terry. we're all working the oars hard, and we're looking forward to having a great drilling season, and to reporting the news as we get it, and continuing to develop the story of Power Nickel as a great investment opportunity, and hopefully soon the world's first carbon neutral nickel mine.
Awesome. And what are the chances to see a deal or partnership with a large mining company that can support the company activity and move the program much faster?
I've said, publicly that I think the next investment that we make, or that gets made in Power Nickel, will be a strategic investment. So we'll keep with that comment.
Okay, and then there's a little bit of a follow-up. If yes, are you looking for 50-50 partnership or sell the company outright?
So this would not be like that. It's to do that. I mean, we don't even know what we have ourselves. We certainly, it's not a good time to trade that. We're just getting the team together. There's a lot of work to be done here to create a lot of value. We didn't get in this to double our money here. This is if we don't make 10 times our money, this is, again, just me, I'd be like super depressed. I think it could be a lot better than that. but I've not, done what I've done the last couple of years, and this is not the time to sell. So the next investment will be be under 10% equity position. It'll advance us forward in a big way and help us a lot. But we'll maintain our free agency status, and we'll still be, and that's key to max valuation for our shareholders and how we might approach this thing. Because when I initially got into this business, I was like, thinking, of course, we'll prove up the ore body and then we'll auction it out to the highest bidder, and that's that. And that could still happen. But what's interesting in nickel, especially with the funding opportunities that are being provided by the government, federally in Canada and provincially in Quebec, to support mine development, up to 55% of a mine now could be advanced by tax credits from the feds and provincial government. That's unbelievable. So if you think of a $400 million high-end nickel mine that's going to produce powders and wires and anodes, that's potentially half of that's covered. So now, so what happens is, I think small miners like, Power Nickel, who ordinarily wouldn't be invited to the refinery table of getting in that business, possibly through partnership could do that in a way where, we wouldn't have to bring the skill set. Our partner would bring that skill set. So I think that, being able to, think that it's possible that we could take this to completion, that we'd end up with a very significant operating interest in a producing mine that's been fully financed, that could be exciting for our shareholders. So that's what we think could possibly be there.
Awesome. And we got some agreement here in the chat about wanting a 10x to 50x and not a quick trade. So
I like that comment. That was a good one.
Terry, Ken, what is the total property acreage on NISC? Has drilling been core oriented? And the River of Nickel has natural pinch, well, added complexity. Are there many evidences of folding there?
Yeah, well,
that's like a Ken question.
Oh, well, in terms of the size of the property, well, Well, I kind of feel strange a bit. I can't recall. It's what?
45 square kilometers.
There you go. Thanks, Terry. So within that 45 square kilometer square, the geology is frankly relatively simple at larger scale. So it's a layered sequence of different types of rocks, from mafic to ultramafic to some metasediments and stuff like that. Internally within the deposit, though, there is evidences of deformation. We have seen evidences for folding. I'm kind of thinking that it may be just localized folding or related to a broader deformation episode, perhaps. But we do not see like large-scale folds where you would say on the mag map, it's very clear that this same unit pinches and turns around. It's not like that. It's more tabular. But when we zoom in at the scale of the deposit, we would anticipate, to have a little bit of folding, faulting, deformation, stretching, whatever it is. It's Archean rocks. So that deposit got formed like 2.8 billion years ago. So many things have happened since then. In terms of drilling success and success rate, frankly, I was totally impressed. Probably because I'm coming from a gold environment where success rate is very good when you hit 6 out of 10 or something like that. At NISC, honestly, it's been pretty much 100% success rate. All time we do hit the target. What remains to be defined at the target location is its thickness and the grade, which we can't really control. But based on the understanding we have, we are capable of pinpointing where the ore chute seems to be going, and we're never really disappointed about that. So in terms of the stability of the drilling, it's very stable in the sense that we define targets, we drill a hole, and usually it's kind of what we were expecting to be there is there. The grade needs to be defined by the lab, pretty much. And what was the third component of that question?
Yeah, so the core-oriented.
Oh, core-oriented. Yeah. In the past, I believe they attempted to do that. Would be very, very useful to have oriented core data, of course. However, I have to say that with my own experience, I'm not a big fan of oriented core unless it's being done by purpose and very, very meticulously. The problem with oriented core is if you do a mistake, and it happens, such a mistake would propagate all down the hole and things like that. So you got to be very, very meticulous at what you're looking at and classifying that with degrees of confidence on the data and things like that. Perhaps what we may be looking at doing eventually would be to sync a televiewer in a few holes instead. And the televiewer is a camera that will actually take a three-dimensional picture down the hole so you can unfold the tube on a 2D image, and you can actually measure angles, real angles there without the chance of the core being rotated. So you're actually taking a picture of the O-stroke that is left behind outside of the hole. So you can't make mistakes when you do that. The danger is you can accumulate way too much data, so you kind of blur your vision with too much data. But with good work with that televiewer, definitely that could be another tool that would help us to pinpoint exactly what geometries we're looking like and things like that. This is basically what my own specialty is, building things in 3D. So definitely this is something we'll have a good look at.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Oh.
Max, I think we're going to have to cut it off here pretty quick. I see there was another question. What happens after the 43-101 in the fall? Well, after that is drill results. So we'll be, basically, we'll be starting to drill next week, and of course, it takes about anywhere 10 to 12 weeks. Sometimes you get out in 8, but generally we've been given guidance, say 10 to 12 weeks to get those out. So we'd expect that probably sometime in early October we'll start to have drill results like we had over the last 8 months, from September to April, and where every 3 or 4 weeks we're putting out significant news. And so that's one of the things that's attractive about Power Nickel now, is that it is a bit of a news junkie, right? There's significant news coming almost every week or 2 weeks now, and it's not make-up stuff. It's actually hard-hitting, value-creating, intelligent investor information that will help to de-risk the investment for a lot of people. So, it's going to be a busy fall. Beyond the 43-101, there'll be, we'll have the full metallurgical study out. We'll have we'll obviously, the strategic, moves that we're making, and then the drill results, and should be exciting fall, and and we'll have, continue to, I think, have to add to our team, but we needed the core guys to start, which was finding the rock and financing the rock. So we got 2 of those guys. Super happy, and Duncan, and looking forward to working with them and building something really terrific for our shareholders.
Awesome. So that's all the time we have for today. So thank you all for taking us through the updates and the introductions. I also want to thank everyone who submitted questions. And as always, today's recording will be available to watch on demand in the coming days, so feel free to look out for that. And before we wrap up, just passing things over back to you, Terry, for some final remarks.
Yeah, I think we just sort of summed it up there. I think it's a great time to be looking at Power Nickel. If you're already in, God bless. It's going to make you happy. And if you're not already in, you should definitely check it out. I think people get fixated on the money market sucks, and the TSX fees at 600. Yeah, it is. And that's the reality. But what's cool about it, if you're not in already, is that we're much closer to this turn, because $60 billion has been committed, and shovels are turning to build these new battery manufacturing plants in the eastern United States and Quebec and Ontario. Those guys are going to need high-grade Class 1 nickel that NISC has. So things are going to change, and when the TSX fee does move, it's going to be a ripper up to 1,200, and then it could ultimately it'll bounce up to 2,400. So it's going to be 3 or 4 full move for everyone. But within that, companies that have really done their thing right and created value are going to appreciate by multiples of that. So I say to people, hey, maybe you don't take your full position now. You want to layer some things in. You think there might be some other further, I don't know, sort of drops in the market. But if you look at the market, like, this is as low as it pretty much gets. And I'm telling you, folks, if not Power Nickel, find other ones you like, because investing in junior mining will change your life, and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. So that's my last thoughts.
Awesome. Thanks again, everyone, for participating, and I hope you all have a great day.